Hey gang, welcome in. Just getting set up as usual. Feel free to jump up on stage with me or share the room out as well. Let everyone know we're live. Got lots to talk about tonight. And if someone can come up here and confirm that you can hear me. Cool. Zach, can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. Welcome in. What's going on, Scott? What's going on, Zach?
Hey, how are you doing, Josh? Zach, good to be here. Looking forward to a good AMA.
Yeah, a lot of news came out this morning, and my favorite one was Powell saying that transitory inflation is not so transitory, and it makes me really wonder, like, are these people serious? I mean, they have to know, and they're just putting out a statement, trying to lead people on or trying to ease them into inflation. But anyone that knows what's going on knows that this is not transitory from the beginning. This is going to get way worse before it gets any better.
Or Zach, maybe they don't know. Maybe they have no idea what's going on.
I cannot imagine that people with those kind of backgrounds don't know. I think they just use vague language and then don't want to incite a panic, and then slowly try to convince people that what's going to happen is good for them, right? When inflation is not good for the vast majority of people, it's only good for the people that have borrowed a lot of money or are in huge debt.
Yeah, and they've been skating around it as well, saying one thing and changing their story. So, not sure if they know what's going on themselves. Although they probably know, but I think they're up to something on that.
Well, if we go off history, once inflation kicks in, supposedly, you're supposed to raise interest rates. But, back in the 70s, we were a totally different economy. So, like we still had our manufacturing industry here and stuff. So a lot of things are changed now. So I think we're into a place where nobody knows, what can happen or what will happen. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, like I think it was in the early 80s when Paul Volcker was the head of the Fed. He did quote unquote the right thing and raised interest rates as high as 20% in order to break the back of inflation, as it was called back then. But now that would be like an absolute impossibility. We're doing so much monetary stimulus on top of the extremely low rates that, like, I don't see a way out of this. Like, I think they're going to have to do this forever until the currency collapses or something else beyond my understanding can happen. But there's no way that they can raise rates to slow inflation, because it will create a unbelievable. I mean, if you do the math on the debt versus if the interest rate were to go to 4 or 5%, it would take the entire federal budget right now to pay that interest, and this is an impossible situation.
Well, on that topic, Zach, I don't know if I told you this yet. We're going to have a great discussion on Coin Talk tomorrow all about this. We're going to bring on Simon Dixon and Dr. Jack Cruz to kind of see what the hell they think is going on in the market as well. So looking forward to that tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. Is that launching tomorrow, or are you recording tomorrow?
That's you and me doing that tomorrow.
Oh, copy.
Yep.
Well, they can always print more money.
That's the truth. King Kilo, I know you've been waiting up here. Were you just come up here to making sure that everyone could hear me, or did you have a question or comment?
I was going to initially acknowledge that I can hear you, but yeah, speaking of what the Fed's doing and Jerome Powell, they know what they're talking about. They've known this for a good 3-4 years. They know it's like Zach is saying, if they try to pump the rate, we can't pay the debt. So it's really a matter of them trying to thread the needle at this point, and they don't know what to do. I think they're just kind of sitting there and they're going to let inflation go. Is really what they're going to do. I don't see them really upping rates. They killed the market the last time, and it'll kill it again. I don't see them doing it. I think they're just going to let inflation go and act like they're going to try to fight it with words, and they're not going to do anything about it. That's what I honestly think.
Right, and to take that on, like, inflation will get progressively worse unless something's done about it, and then eventually you have the failure of a currency, and usually those things don't happen too far apart. Like once you start getting double-digit inflation, the failure of the currency happens a couple years after that. It's not something that can be drawn out for decades. So, like again, unless they know something or they plan to do something that we're just not aware of, there's no way of getting out of this without killing the currency and having eventually hyperinflation.
I agree. I think that's where we're heading. In 3 years, I think we're going to see 13%. That's what I honestly think. And they're going to keep saying, oh, we'll up rates if we have to. And then they're going to use, oh, well, all the stimulus, we'll create unemployment, et cetera, et cetera. And they're not going to up the rate. They're going to let it go because they have no other choice at this point. They created a huge bubble. There's nothing they can do.
Right. They're too deep in the game. Like, again, do the math on 5% interest on the debt. It would be an exorbitant amount of spending each year. And on top of everything we're already doing. So I don't think there's any way out. But what's the end game then? Because if we can deduce this, all the people in the Fed and all the people in the government, or at least most of them, could figure it out as well. So what is the real strategy here? Are they just going to kick this can down the road until literally the dollar collapses? Or is something else going to come in to save the market and to save the currency? Because it's not looking good right now.
The other thing they could do is we could grow out of it. Maybe they're expecting AI and robotics to take over.
No, we can't. Every dollar of debt that we add now gets less than $1 of productivity. Like we've already passed that point of borrowing into the future to help ourselves today. The more we borrow now, the worse it gets because it goes into unproductive assets. And if you can borrow money for free and spend it on something that's pointless, then that creates more money and doesn't produce any more assets, so you can't grow out of it, right? This money isn't going into production. It's just going into a bunch of fugazis.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, though, I think they're going to do whatever they have to do to get more votes. It's all going to be about the votes and staying in power and helping those who are helping them. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to, because there's been signs of this for a very, very long time, and the powers that be keep kicking the can down the road. So I think they're just going to keep doing what their voters want them to do, and whatever they can do to stay in power.
I hope that's not the case, Scott, because history suggests that ends in tragedy.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Scott's right. It's always going to be more politically expedient to put more money and kick the can down the road. But that ultimately ends up to a terrible place. But this wasn't a problem 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and they could just continue to kick down the road. But for whatever reason, the last batch of stimulus really caused an inflationary spike, and now the production is down, money supply is up, and it looks like production is not going to recover, and this money supply is going to continue to grow.
Could I add something?
Yeah, go for it, Midnight.
Thanks. It's actually my first call on here. I've listened to so many of your calls and been a long time. No, I wouldn't say a long time Celsius, but I mean, I joined you guys in August of this year, and been an amazing experience, and been watching every AMA and Twitter Spaces you guys have ever since. But I'm a chartered professional accountant here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and what I can say about inflation is that, in America, sometimes it's tough for maybe your population to see what's happening outside of Canada. But just speaking within outside of America, but just speaking within Canada, I look at it and we see inflation at the gas pump, and we're a commodities-based economy, and we produce oil here, but we see 20% spikes in food sometimes, depending on what kind of food it is. We see 10%, 15% spikes on gas. You go to the movie theaters, we're paying almost double now. And you might not see that because everything happens in America, but when they ship it to us, we see huge sticker prices on everything. So just thought I'd add that.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that's really strange about this scenario is inflation came to all major countries at the same time. Like this wasn't something that is just hitting US or just hitting Canada or just hitting UK. This is hitting everybody at the same time, which if you go, all the central banks started creating more money about a year and a half ago. and I think that's what kicked this off. And then the shutdown of production, it was like a kick in the pants, where we were always printing more money, right? Like over the past 10 years, the money supply is up like 120%. And a lot of that happened in the last 2 years, but not all of it. But prices were stable for the vast majority of that time. Now it's been kicked into overdrive, and we're actually seeing prices rise on a month-to-month basis, and there's no way to get around it. And it doesn't look like they can't stop it. Like, what can they do to stop this from happening, and not only just stop it from happening, but stop from making it worse? Because the only thing that they're doing is going to perpetuate the problem, and it's going to get faster and faster until, again, you have 10%, 20%, 50%, 100% inflation, and then a currency dies.
Go for it, Cellcat.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I read somewhere that it was since the beginning of the the world situation, let's call it. Basically, there was supposed to be a money transfer, and instead, what happened was it was a money transfer from the bottom 90% to the 1%, and it was a pretty drastic number. It was upwards of $50 trillion since the beginning of this, since all the panic starts. All these companies start raising prices and increasing work hours and kind of just covering up things. You see a lot of internet scrubbing as well too, just to kind of make it look like it's not happening, but it's happening, and it's kind of gross. And so that's why it's good to be in crypto, because I mean, I think Celsius is honestly the opportunity out of this. There's never been another thing like this where, like they say, oh, we can't give you more money. It's like, okay, cool. Well, that's because you're unwilling to go and ask your rich buddies for anything. So Celsius has come up with a way of pointing the game theory at the guys with the money, and then doing the proper wealth transfer of, hey, we can afford to do this. We can afford to do good and do well and spread prosperity. So let's do that. So yeah, I think this is the answer, honestly.
Yeah, being out of traditional assets, I feel so much better. And being in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cell Token, like that makes me feel so much better about our financial system. I'm out of that. I have very little participation in it, and I can be on my own crypto standard that's not tied to the dollar and all of the woes that come with that. And I think more and more places are figuring it out. And I think if El Salvador is being extremely successful in what they're doing and are doubling and tripling down, and that's going to pay off huge dividends. And like the Bitcoin city, why is it that the Bitcoin city has zero taxes, right? Why couldn't they do that anywhere else? And I think it's because, like, just as much as we affect Bitcoin, Bitcoin affects us and our behavior because of the incentives that it has. And we see those incentives play out in a very positive way, in a very free market oriented way.
Just a reminder to the group here, feel free to share the room out. Let everyone know we're live. As you may know or may not know, Alex will be joining us here in a little bit, and then it will get kind of crowded up here on stage. But for the meantime, myself, Zach, and Scott are here at your disposal and happy to answer any questions you guys have. Feel free to tap on the mic, come up in here and join us. Midnight, I saw you on mute. What's going on?
Hey, I had a question for Scott and Zach, but I'll start with Scott first. I don't know of any Celsians here in Edmonton. Do you know how I can kind of connect with some people here in Edmonton, Canada, or even create a meetup? That would be one thing that I'm interested in. And then a question for Zach is, I know that Celsius is
Let's do one at a time. So
sure.
Scott, go ahead.
Yeah. Have you applied to be an ambassador recently, or are you an ambassador?
No, I'm just kind of an avid crypto and techie, but not a ambassador.
Okay. One thing I can do for you is I can look in our database to see if we have anyone in your area. Then I can reach out to them and see if they can reach out to you. So what I would ask you to do is send me just go ahead and click on my face there. Send me a message over Twitter with your contact details, and then I'll try to locate someone as close to your area as possible. Are you looking for someone directly in your area? Because we do have ambassadors in Canada in general. I don't know if you're looking for someone in Canada as a whole or in your immediate area.
I guess more or less to just meet other Celsians locally, even across Canada as well.
Oh, okay. I can definitely introduce you to other Celsians that are ambassadors. Let's see, Cellcat may be close to you. Cellcat, if so, jump up and let us know. But we also have a few that come to mind too that are ambassadors as well. So if Cellcat isn't in your area, then I'll make sure I get to other ambassadors. But send me a message too, so I can look in the database for you.
Oh no, thank you, Scott. I will. I'll definitely do that. The second question for Zach was very quick here. I know that Celsius wants a lot of stablecoins. Any way that you guys can integrate Polygon? Because I would love to send so much through Polygon versus the main net on Ethereum.
Yeah, that is some technology that we're building through Celsius X. You're not going to be available in the near future, but yes, we are building on layer 2 solutions.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for coming up. Yep. I was just getting over to you. What's going on, Bitcoin Sovereign Guy?
Hey guys, Tom Cross here. Good to see you and Scott and Zach. Wanted to really just follow up real quickly on the inflation thing because it really plays into one of the core value propositions that Celsius provides. In that what we're going into a different kind of inflation domain than I experienced in the 70s, and that is you have cash inflation, but you also have disinflation by the cheapening of the production of goods and services. I was at Walmart today, and there was like a huge TV for sale for $400. I mean, it's just astounding how product and disinflation's been going on. So these are kind of two competing things in this future regarding inflation. And what's delightful, and so those could be offsetting falls, was my point. So it's hard to really predict because we haven't faced, second derivative inflation as we're likely to face, as well as second derivative acceleration of the reduction in prices of goods and services. Things getting cheaper in terms of the cost of production.
Well, yeah, I think it's important to distinct the two. Like, inflation is one of those words that people have different meanings of. My definition of inflation is a traditional one that it's an expansion of the supply of money, okay? Regardless of what happens to prices, if you expand the money supply, that is inflation. You're inflating the currency. That, I think, has been taken over by this more common idea that's pushed of, oh, inflation is only when prices go up. And I think that's a false statement because if you create more money, you're diluting everyone that holds the money. That's inflation. Prices naturally go down due to human innovation, and that's deflationary in the sense of prices, but not deflationary in the sense of how much money takes place. So, like,
I'm more of a Hayekian economist. That's my background, but I would say that really what matters is purchasing power, and that is what really frightens me. I'm older than most everybody here.
But if your purchasing power should go up in a fixed supply system. But if your purchasing power even stays the same, you're still being robbed of all the human innovation that's taking place because they're printing that deflation or those lowered prices away, right, to stagnant prices. So right. I think it's evil all around.
Well, disinflation is evil as well because you create an incentive not to spend, and then if you do that long enough, people.
Well, I mean, that's a very
Keynesian
idea, but I don't think
that's Hayekian. I mean, that's a von Mises approach.
I don't think humans act that way. Like, there's so many examples of technology that we buy today that we know will be cheaper a year from now, but we have time preference and we need
Correct.
them. So this idea that, oh, if I know that and we're talking small numbers, right? If I know that whatever this car or this laptop or this whatever item is going to be 3 or 4% cheaper next year, I'm not going to wait a year to save that 3 or 4%.
Correct. That's
you know?
right. So yeah, I think we're in agreement on that point. My point was around the services that Celsius provide to kind of provide us some liquidity to navigate through a really unique time in human history of these competing forces of rapid expansion of the money supply and disinflation at the production level. And what's really nice about Celsius is you're allowed to kind of play that a little bit with regard to loaning against an asset that's appreciating in time, basically being your own bank. And I can't imagine a better place in which to be during a time of great confusion. At all level of the academic economists, there's no consensus. But I think with regard to the things we can have consensus around, a fixed number of Bitcoin and and cryptocurrencies that actually facilitate frictionless or reduce the friction of the transactions. That's a solid play for anybody, and particularly, I think what I find with Celsius is you enable that. You basically take this asset like Bitcoin and instead of treating it like a noun, it becomes a verb and something you can use to navigate kind of going forward. So
yeah, definitely, it's allowing us to provide these services that are not available in traditional markets, especially to the smaller guy, and that creates so much opportunity that I couldn't earn money on my money in a bank. Period. If I had $10,000, I can't do that. Now I can put my money in stablecoin, or I can put it in Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, hold that in Celsius and actually earn a rate of yield that's respectable, right? It's not a slap in the face like I get at my bank.
I have a question. I'm not sure how this works. Do I just speak up or wait until I'm called on?
Yeah, just there's a few people in front of you.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Sovereign God, did that conclude your thoughts on the inflation situation?
Absolutely. Thanks, gentlemen.
Sure. And I always hear this argument like, a deflationary system is so terrible because people are going to end up saving and all that stuff, and that's going to be terrible. But obviously, it's not like absolute. People aren't just going to save, period. They still have to eat, they still have to live, they're still going to buy things. And when you're talking about the stuff like technology making everything cheaper, I would think people would spend a hell of a lot more in a situation where everything around you is getting cheaper.
Well, here's a great example that I experienced personally. In 2013, I bought a brand new Toyota Corolla. It cost me $18,500. In 2020, I bought a brand new Toyota Corolla. It cost me $18,400, so only $100 less. But in that time frame, the car became extremely better in so many different facets, and then the dollar lost a lot of value, and that's deflationary, right, across the board. But because the way that it worked and the innovation took and the amount of money and whatever, it balanced out to the same. But I got a way better car for a way less valuable dollar 7 years in the future. Okay, and imagine if we didn't have inflation, that car would have been this much better and way more cheaper. And that's the best of both worlds, right? I don't see a downside with that. Like, to say that goods being more expensive is a positive thing, I think is kind of nonsensical, right? You want goods to be cheap as possible. You don't want them to be expensive.
Well, in some domains that works, but Louis Vuitton purses go up every 6 months and have done so since 1947. So I'm just saying that, there are some domains in which that's not the case. What you're describing is not the case. So, but in most cases, consumer durables, you're absolutely right.
Right. I'm just using this as an example, but when it comes to commodities or more general goods, like obviously high-end purses have a status symbol and they have a different kind of pricing model, but when it comes to the cost to produce something, and then the profit required to keep that sustainable, that those prices should be going down over time, right? My favorite example is a loaf of bread, right, or a gallon of milk. Back in the 50s was a nickel, okay, and now it's $2 or $3. Did the money become, or did the bread become 20 times more valuable, or did the money become 20 times less valuable? And who benefited from those changes, right? I think it's just a negative all around, right? And it helps the people that are borrowing, helps the people that are printing money, but it doesn't help society, and it doesn't help the average guy.
You know what's funny, Zach? I tweeted something about this probably a week ago, and one of the examples that I use is a 787 Dreamliner aircraft, which is a Boeing, and also Airbus A350. Both of those airplanes use 25% less fuel, requires 25% less maintenance, but yet our ticket prices are still going up. And now we pay to check our bags, our luggage. Our ticket prices should be 25% less because the airplane uses 25% less fuel, 25% less energy. So that's one of the examples that I use. And I think I used a Rolls Royce example also. Rolls Royce is made by hand, it's about $400,000, which you can understand, fine, it's made by hand. But now, like a Toyota Corolla or another car that costs $40,000, that car should be going down in price because it's made by machines. All machines is not made by hand, but yet car prices continue to go up.
And it's because the money is becoming less and less valuable.
Yeah, and I don't agree necessarily with that Louis Vuitton example. I think the Louis Vuitton purses are going up to keep pace with inflation.
Well, that's what you're saying, is that those prices go up every 6 months.
I think if we had a better system, prices across the board would be coming down or stay constant. At least the Louis Vuitton purse should stay constant. It shouldn't be going up. It should stay constant.
I think that's a bad example because that's an item that is priced exclusively and kind of meant to hit a target demographic and not really based about efficiency. It's more about brand recognition.
Yeah, it's more art.
The cost of production of a Louis Vuitton bag has not gone up every 6 months, right? It's just the price that they charge for it, which is their prerogative, right? I mean, I got nothing against that.
I think the price is going up as well because the demand is going up for those things now too.
Well, that too, because as they create more money, more people can afford those prices, and so more of them are willing to buy. But I think of like how inflationary money affects the economy. It's like building a house using a tape measure where the inches on that tape measure are constantly shrinking. Where on this side of the house, your inch was so long, but then when you got to the other side of the house, it's become smaller. And you're saying, well, I'm doing economic calculation here. I'm trying to use the same amount of inches to build my house, but the size of the walls are different. I think that causes these distortions in the market that end up being these problems. And it's very hard to see, and it doesn't emerge until years later. But again, inflation does not help the average person, right? There's no case to say that, oh, I'm glad that prices are going up 5% a year. That makes my life better. It doesn't.
And remember, Zach, inflation is transitory. That's what Jerome Powell said over the summertime. He did reverse today, but
yeah.
I mean, dude, do you think your debt slaves are this dumb? You're telling us that inflation is transitory?
Apparently, what? First there was not enough, and then there was none, and then it was too little, and now it was transitory, and now it's good for me, right? So tell me more.
Can I interject a little crazy theory to the group here, especially because everybody's here in crypto?
As long as it's not too crazy. We try to keep it like a 5 on the crazy scale.
And then after that, we're going to move on because there's been some people waiting patiently up here.
I just want to drop a seed here. What happens if the central banks begin to digitize their currencies? And with that, they can control how the money works, how the money moves, what you do through your money. Because what if the crypto environment now like a giant experiment too, to see how much money can actually start coming in, to how people operate with crypto, so that they can then create a sense of confusion now that they're in, that they're out, like with these remarks by Powell of saying one thing and then saying another. So that they end up creating an environment, even with this inflation going up, where everybody feels insecure and decides that the best thing is actually to do is to put your money in a digital format where it's something that's controllable, like into a blockchain, right? So they sell you the whole theory of that.
That's going on in China right now. We don't have to imagine. That's in China.
Yeah.
So, well, okay, that's what I'm getting at. So why can't we think about the possibility that there is a very slow process of removing your rights little by little until you end up coming into a position where you feel safer with this situation? Something similar to what you can see already happening in Australia, in New Zealand with COVID.
I wouldn't put it past groups of people to make a situation terrible just to move them into an even worse situation long term, right? That's definitely a possibility.
That's what we've always done, divide and conquer. We've done that through the ages.
So I think that's real, and I think that there are major concerns if you have a CBDC and then the central bank or whoever can tell you, oh, if you don't spend this money in a certain amount of time, we're going to take it from your account. Or if you don't spend it on certain things, we'll take it from your account. Or you're only allowed to buy these things and not these things. That's a very dangerous concept that I hope we should
and
stay
you can
away
see
from.
that happening also when they start throwing in, if you listen to what was actually being negotiated at COP26, I suggest that some of you start listening to Catherine Fitz and her Solari report, because there's a buildup coming up about the possibility of controlling your carbon usage.
We'll take a look at that. I don't want to get too big into the weeds in that direction, but
I
feel you.
For everybody here.
Yeah, I feel you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yep. Thanks for coming up and sharing with us. I believe, Pete, you're up next.
Good evening, everybody. Just a very quick question. I missed last week's AMA on Friday and didn't get a chance to see a recap yet, but just had a quick question on Series B for international. Has there been any announcements yet?
There was an announcement of an announcement. That'll take place early December on that subject.
Awesome. Zach, just I know there's no details out yet, but when they do announce it, like is a typical window a couple of weeks, 30 days, a couple of months? Like how long do they usually leave the round open for?
I have no idea on this, but last time I think it was like a 45-day window on the last fundraise. So it's not going to be something that's 72 hours. There will be a period of time to participate.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Yep. Thanks for coming up, Pete. Jason, I know you've been coming up and down, up and down. I believe you were up next in the thread, though.
Yeah, sorry, my connection kept losing. Hey, Zach, just a question for you about competitors and kind of the landscape. And I asked this last week just about crypto.com and how maybe it was a little bit misleading, their yield. Do you think crypto.com is a valid competitor to Celsius for yield?
I mean, what do you mean by valid?
Well, I mean, compelling. I talked to somebody and they said, no, I'm looking at crypto.com for yield on Ethereum and Bitcoin. And when you go to their website, it does look like it has a higher yield than we're offering, but you got to lock it up 3 months.
Yeah, I would really take a look at this. Comes down to the fine details, and then the kind of system you want to support, right? So I think there's a moral part of it and then a financial part. I'm not totally familiar with crypto.com's fee structure or their lock structure. I remember there's maybe some tax implications when you lock up your coins for a period of time. And then in order to get those yields, what do you have to do as far as holding tokens, your payment, that stuff? And Celsius does that stuff as well. And that's on the financial side, and their rates may be competitive, right? There's we're not saying that Celsius is the only one that can offer decent rates, but this is where it comes more into the strategy part, where Celsius is generating all of this yield from counterparties, not customers. Okay, Crypto.com, BlockFi, Coinbase, whoever, they're generating their yield, maybe some from counterparties, but they're also taking money from their customers every day. And that's a huge difference. So we are choosing to act in the best interest of the community and not take money from them, okay, just to give it to someone else as a higher rate. We are aggregating our purchasing power, lending that out in a number of different strategies, and putting more coins in your account every week. Okay, nothing is being charged to you. There are no fees on Celsius. Try to find one. But every week we're adding value to your account in the form of crypto, right? Whatever you hold. So I think that's the two big things is, there may be some small rate differences, but they could be competitive. But how they generate that yield is the biggest difference. Is that coming from you paying a fee here and then getting it back in yield somewhere else? Because, it wouldn't be hard for a company to charge you 2% and then give you a 4 or 5% yield, right, on your Bitcoin. But if they're getting all of this value from their counterparties, the institutions, the exchanges, the whoever, and then bringing that to their community, I think that's just a totally different line of business. And that's how we operate. We're not taking money from one customer and giving it to another and keeping a spread. We're gathering as a unit and deploying that capital in a way that we can provide yield to our users without taking coins out of their accounts.
Yeah, that's very helpful. I appreciate it. I guess my comment is just as I feel like we're losing some of the tokenomics and kind of token story here, it becomes a much more fundamental question about the company. And I'm committed, but I'm also worried that, without the token, you just have to look at things more from a competitive landscape and how people are perceiving us and all that stuff.
I would totally agree with you, right? The Cell token is a very interesting dynamic that provides the community and creates this sense of togetherness that other companies don't have. You don't have that with BlockFi or Coinbase or Crypto.com or Nexo or anywhere else. That's something that made Celsius really special. And this phenomena of the token not performing as a company, I think is causing a lot of damage in the community, right? And these are questions that I want to ask Alex and others, that we need to take some steps in order to bring utility to the token and respect the token holders. Because when they started the company, right, it all started with an ICO. And then two, it's a huge morale to our community and our marketing efforts. We don't do paid marketing, and we've been able to do that because our community, we do very little paid marketing. And we've been able to do that because we have such a powerful community that's been rewarded over time. But if those incentives change, then we lose something that makes us very, very special. And then it just becomes an economic decision. Like, oh, I can get a higher rate over there, I'm going to go over there, right? It doesn't matter what they do or how they do it or how they say it. And that's a very rational decision, but that's not the ethos that we're trying to operate on. And so I agree, we need to fix some things.
Don't forget morale of the staff.
Yeah, I'll shut up. But I think my opinion is the token is a direct reflection of the regulation overhang. But the problem is it's a barometer, much like a stock price in any company. And so it's going to affect, morale and all those things. But yet I think the big driver is regulation, and that could be a cloud for a while. So we somehow have to just beat the drum on the fundamental case. And
well, I don't know about that, because we just saw Voyager list on Coinbase. Like Voyager has very similar functions in their platform that Cell Token has in ours. Now, I don't know if that's the right or wrong decision, but if they listed on Coinbase, then maybe that's something that we got to take a look at, or maybe we should be a little less defensive on the regulatory front. I'm not sure exactly, right?
Crypto.com too.
Right, Crypto.com too.
Yeah.
So I'm just observing that, and I'm an advocate of the community. I'm a token holder. I'm a longtime Celsian. I want to affect change in a positive way, because when token holders do well, the company does well, the employees do well, the community does well, everybody does well. And that's something I'm for.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Josh. Thanks, Zach.
Yep. Thanks for coming up, Jason. All right. TM, you've been waiting for a while. Go ahead.
Thanks, appreciate it. Zach, could you speak to the overall safety for those of us with collateralized loans, just the collateral itself? I'm a new Celsian, and just if you could give a brief overview on why you wouldn't worry if you had all your crypto, assuming that we set aside liquidation worries, which I'm not worried about whatsoever. I'm long crypto, and I can handle the liquidation like a big boy. But in terms of exposure to, Tether FUD or a run on Celsius, or I don't know, a severe crash, a liquidity freeze. Just if you could allay or assuage my fears about, my collateral is always going to be there. Not your keys, not your coin, but I don't have to worry about it with Celsius.
Sure. So all retail loans are very over collateralized. I mean, the minimum we do is 2 to 1. The maximum is 4 to 1. So there's always a lot of collateral backing the retail loans. And that's one because crypto is so volatile that you don't want to do a 90% LTV loan, because a small move, which can happen any day, will get someone liquidated. So we provide that safety net, and that's what's comfortable for us. We're a pretty conservative company, and so we don't want people taking high leverage, right? We don't want people to borrow 90% of the value just to get liquidated. That's not in your best interest. And the coins that are collateral are pooled with the other assets and being rehypothecated like a normal any other coin that you hold in the wallet. So it's really just a question of the security of Celsius overall. Our practices, our backing, the amount of loans versus the assets we have is very low. So it's not an issue like that. And traditionally, securities lending company, which is effectively what we're doing, but in crypto, have been very low risk. So I think the real risks you're taking are trusting Celsius with your coins, not over leveraging yourself personally, and then obviously being in crypto, right? Crypto could fail, in some black swan event, and those are the risks that you're taking.
Okay, but you're confident in terms of Celsius risk management on the collateral side. I'm not worried about liquidation or whatsoever. Just Celsius not freezing up on me.
We're extremely conservative, and we always maintain a certain amount of liquidity. And the way that our loans are structured, it's a lot of them are not locked in for long periods. So it works well for both parties. And then again, if there was some massive decline in the market, things would get turbulent, but Celsius has survived 2 major crashes so far. One in March of 2020, where we had a 50% correction in one day. And then earlier this year, when we had a 55-60% correction over several weeks or a month. And we were able to operate fine and keep those loans safe, and the company solve it through all that without an issue. So I think it's fine. And the security is on loans the same it is with every other asset, right? It's all the funds get pulled together and deployed for yield. There is no real difference from that, but our risk team is extensive and very conservative. And that's why rates are 3, 5, 10% on stable coins, and not 20, 30, 50, 200, 1,000% that you can find on these other platforms,
Yep, great. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, everyone.
Yep, thanks for coming up, TM. Richard, I believe you're next.
Hey there. Hi, Scott, Zach, Josh. This is about loans, also a bit more utilitarian. So I took out a Celsius loan. Everything's going fine, no problems. I do use the Celsius API keys, though, to sync my account with my tax software. I think when I took out the loan, the crypto that got locked up basically disappears from my account. So that on the tax software side, that suggested to the tax software that I'd spent it. So anyway, I've fudged it to fix that on the tax side. But the request is, I wonder if the coins that are locked up during a loan could still appear in the account, but just not be accessible, so that what the API keys still see them. Does that question make sense?
Yeah, I get what you'd like to do, but I think the way that our system is designed is it is effectively removing those coins from your account because they're being held as collateral. And so we show that in your account live, right? When you take a loan, those coins are effectively deducted from your account, and then the loan proceeds are sent to you. I don't think that this is a big enough problem that we would change that whole system just to address it. But I mean, I do understand your concern, and it may be something that you'll have to account for on your level, or find another software that has the flexibility to understand those kinds of changes.
Okay, understood. I just fudged it on the other end. I created a dummy wallet and called it Collateral, and put the coins back in there. So it was just a workaround. All right, thank you so much.
Yep, thanks for coming up, Richard. Alex, you're up next.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, good, great. My question is regarding unramping of US dollars. Where are we on the roadmap for the ability to on-ramp US dollars so I can easily purchase from within Celsius coins of my choosing?
Yep. It looks like I just got an update a bit earlier today that this will be launching in December, a fiat gateway both in and off the platform. Starting in the US, it'll be a similar launch to swaps, where a number of users will get it, and then we'll expand that quickly out. But it looks like that rollout will begin this month, or this upcoming month in December.
I think it's December 15th.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think that date, it's not, maybe the rollout will start on that date, maybe a week or two later. So I don't want to say a date because the update I got didn't have a date, but it's definitely on track in the near future.
Okay, that's awesome. That's great news. And going back to what Jason was saying about crypto.com and somebody else mentioned Voyager, I actually have accounts on both of those exchanges as well. Most of my funds I'm an ambassador of Celsius and have more there, but Celsius is the only one that gives me a 1099, and that shows to the integrity of Celsius and the ability to work with the U.S. customers, which I am. So, from my experience on all three, Celsius is the winner.
Appreciate that feedback, Alex. Did that conclude your questions and comments?
Yes, thank you.
Yep, thanks for joining us up here. Dopeness, you are up next.
Hey Josh, hey Zach, how's it going, guys?
What's going on?
Getting ready to go to Miami on Thursday, and hopefully there's some extra room for me for that Celsius event. I saw Alex post something on Twitter earlier. He looked like a rock star. I don't know if you guys saw that. It looked pretty cool. He gave a speech today somewhere.
Yeah, I heard he was spitting fire today.
Yeah. Yes, to say the least. People were kind of roaring and cheering. A bunch of my friends were there, so yeah, they said he's like a living legend. But about the crypto.com, just a quick aside. Yeah, about 7 months ago, I was looking into where to, I was doing some DeFi stuff, all these sites you can find. And like you were saying, Zach, they might give you a high yield, but you don't know how they're going to be backing and so forth. In regards to crypto.com, I've actually had friends who've had tokens that were never returned, and they were kind of lost, and their customer service was never around, and frankly speaking, it just kind of gave one of those type of vibes. And then as soon as I heard about Celsius, just through some chatter, I kind of looked in, and as I start off with talking about Alex, he's someone I could relate to, especially with what he's done in the past. He's accessible. There's transparency, especially in this space. So you love seeing that. So yeah, I just want to put that out there. But my question again, I'm going to stick to the same thing. Any sort of conversation internally with NFTs and everything kind of happening. Particularly the ones on Ethereum, not the other chains, but potentially Celsius considering some sort of custodial way, because there are some new platforms popping up there where they're taking the token, the NFT token, and providing some sort of loan against it.
Yeah, I haven't heard an update on this. And the last Alex talked about it was it's difficult for us to loan against it for two reasons. One, the value of them is still fluctuating wildly. So it's hard to value that asset and then collateralize it and put a loan against it. The second is we can't rehypothecate it and earn yield on it. So it's difficult. Now I know some projects are working on a way to do this, or there are some cash flow possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
But again, Celsius moves rather slow, and to be on the cutting edge of that innovation, I think it's going to take some time and maturity of the NFT market before we can bring those onto our platform. You know, any change inside the app takes a very, very long time and is worked on for months and months. And as this space develops, you know, we're going to have to see it stabilize, and we're going to have to be able to monetize it effectively before we can start putting technology together to support it.
Yeah. Yeah, the way that the other platforms are doing it, the way that I kind of see it is a sort of a illiquid asset, potentially like a real estate asset, in the NFTs that have some sort of forward guidance of other airdrops and, as you said, some sort of cash flow. But yeah, just wanted to check in with you guys. Thanks. And if there's anybody I can email or ping about getting a seat for the AMA on Friday down in Miami, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks for coming up, Dopeness. Next up is Tecmo.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Couple quick questions. I'll do one at a time. But we had a Twitter Spaces earlier, and Javi and Esteban and I weren't exactly sure the answers to these questions. The swaps, I know they've been rolling out more and more. Are there current non-platinum users that have it yet?
I don't know. I would suspect there are, but I can't confirm that.
Okay, that's what I said too. I was like, with the amount of people that are getting it, I have to assume that's it's not just platinum, but I didn't know for sure.
Yeah.
And then for the on-ramp rollout, will it be a similar type thing where it'll go to like employees and platinum, and then stuff like that?
Yes, yeah, it will. I think the order will be different because there's different rules around it, but it will be a rollout where it's happening over a number of weeks and not to everyone all at once.
Okay. And then the last, I have a couple quick comments after this, but the last question that I remember that we couldn't answer was any sort of update on the cell roadmap.
Yeah, that's something that we're gonna have to ask Alex about tonight, because it would be great to get more information on that. Again, token holders are a massive part of this company and this community, and I definitely believe there's additional clarity there required. So when Alex comes in, let's be sure to ask about that.
Copy. And then so my real quick question, or my comments were just my wife called the customer support line. I called last week, and both. I know I talked about my original one being excellent, and hers was as well. So I just wanted to give the feedback to that. Will, I talked to Will both times, and he was tremendous. It was under 10 minutes and I actually tried to talk to his manager to give him some kudos. Okay, hold on. Tried to talk to his manager to give him some kudos, but his manager was too busy. I think that's a good sign. But just wanted to give them props and tell everyone if they're having issues to definitely check out 1866 HODL now, because it was a great experience both times that I've called them. And then sorry, go ahead, Zach.
No, that's fantastic. I'm glad you hear it. I'm hearing nothing but great things about the customer care team, and it's a huge benefit and a much better experience than traditional like support tickets.
Fully agree, and I think obviously we have the Three Amigos and all kinds of stuff coming out, but I think the underlying foundation of that is going to be customer support. So it's just an awesome thing to have. And then the one quick other thing I wanted to add was just the Voyager CDC thing where, you're saying, do we want to take a slightly more aggressive approach? I obviously don't know the ins and outs and the legalities and all of that. But I will say that just personally, my opinion is I actually am a big fan of the conservative approach, just in that, the conservative approach, trying to do everything on the up and up, and Celsius's security of their funds and all the stuff that I've researched and their transparency. That's the number one reason I'm a customer, and that's the number one reason I became an ambassador, is because I feel at the end of the day, I feel safe here. And that's what I tell other people when I try to get friends and family members involved. It's because I'm like, I don't feel like I'm saying like, hey, go to this random competitor and, they really, they're going to loan your funds out and try to buy GBTC and do some weird stuff and send you Bitcoin, incorrectly and all, like I feel safe at Celsius. And I think that's a really, really important thing to maintain. So that was it.
Yeah, 100%. And my remarks earlier had nothing to do with the safety or risk aversion overall.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't mean to imply that, and I fully agree. Like, say, if it's worth, if it's able to be done, great. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, certainly, I'm right there with you. If we are able to expand the token utility in that way, I think we should be putting a lot of energy and time into that. But of course, maintaining our conservative and very balanced approach to generating yield. Because we have to do this for the next 100 years, right? This is not let's get as much as we can and then go out of business in a couple of years.
Yep, that's definitely not the way to get to 100 million users.
Well, thanks for joining us up here, Tecmo, and the feedback. Love to hear it about the 800 number. And if you're around when Alex comes in, feel free to join us back up here on stage and ask about the roadmap.
Every time I hear that number, I think of a 90s infomercial. Call 1-800 or 1-866 HODL now. 1-866 HODL now.
I for one am down for a jingle. I don't know how
we do need a jingle like that. When I first heard that, I was dying laughing because it's just so funny. 1-866 HODL now.
I think we need to get you two on there dancing too to the jingle. I'll sit that out though.
Like if we could build like one of those 90s commercials with the blue, it's got the blue screen and the big white letters, like that, I would love that.
Yeah. Charles, I've noticed you coming up on stage and dropping off. You must be having trouble with your connection or whatever, so I'll try to jump to you next. Go ahead.
Hey, Josh.
Hey,
thanks.
guys.
Yeah.
Charles, and then I'm going to come to you next, Charlie. Sorry.
No worries. Hey, thanks, Josh. I appreciate it. Hey, guys. Hey, this is a really quick question. This came up today. I was looking at Compass Mining and what they offer, and I was curious if that's something that Celsius is possibly looking into as they ramp up their mining business.
I'm not sure if that was part of the investments that we made. I have to double check on that before I say any more, but it's a possibility that it was.
Cool. All right. Yeah, that's kind of what I was asking because I was just looking into it. I've seen it before and I've never really messed with it, but as I looked into it more now, I thought, wow, that'd be a great idea, but I would love to do it with Celsius rather than somebody else. So that was the main reason for my call or my question. So, and that's all I had. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for coming up. Great question. All right, Charlie, go ahead.
All right, I got a little bit of a difficult question. So I love Celsius. Brought over a bunch of friends, and my friends are, like many of us, deep in the throes of Twitter. And I've been catching a lot of flack from them this week, with just some of the rumblings on Twitter of some things that have been happening behind the scenes with you guys. And I was just wondering your guys' thoughts on that. I'm sure you've probably heard similar, and how you guys would address that with your friends.
Could you be any more specific about the rumblings that you speak?
I was just gonna say, ask a more specific question, or give a more specific example.
Yeah.
Like with the arrest or whatever that happened in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I'll defer to the statement that we made on Twitter. Alex is going to come in and talk about that as well. But what we said online is what we can say. It's an ongoing investigation. I don't have any more information beyond that.
Gotcha. I hate to be that guy. I've just been getting a ton of flack from friends that I brought over. To Celsius, and so
for sure,
that's why
it's a fair question, and we're happy to address it. And I would just refer them to that statement.
Gotcha.
That's all the stuff we have right now.
All right,
And also,
and please don't
if
take
someone
it as me
is,
trying to be disrespectful because that wasn't my intent.
No, all good.
and Charlie, if someone has done something nefarious in their past job and they haven't been arrested or have a criminal background, there's no way that a future company is going to know that. And basically, this is what happened. He hasn't done anything bad at Celsius. Everything is accounted for, but he did something allegedly. We have to use the word alleged, bad at his prior company. And Celsius has suspended him. That could happen at any company.
Totally get it. Totally get it. Just I had to ask with all the. I've gotten about 15 phone calls this week, so that's why. My friends are a lot newer to the crypto space compared to me. I've been in since 2015, so this is so foreign to them still, and they can't wrap their heads around half of the stuff that we talk about here, like it's second nature. So
Sure. And Charlie, all your questions are welcome up here. So no need to worry, my friend. Do you have any other questions, or is that your only one?
that was my only one. Thank you for that.
Sure, no problem. Info.2, you're next. Info, are you there? If you're speaking, you're muted. All right, gonna move on to Jason. What's going on, Jason?
Hey, you guys. Thanks for having me up. This might be a little bit of a brutal question. I apologize for that. I'm just kind of curious to get employee sentiment around a specific thing, because there's been a lot of chatter in all the Twitter space, or all of the Telegram chats and all that kind of stuff. Are you guys feeling worried at all about a Cell token liquidation cascade?
I mean, I can't speak to everybody. I'm personally not, but I do think we need to bring a lot more time and attention and focus to Cell token and its utilities. But no, I'm not concerned about a cascading liquidation event where everyone gets destroyed.
That is what I wanted to know. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's really good to get a little bit of employee sentiment feedback, just to find out where you guys are at.
Yeah, the other thing, Jason, to that as well is the fact that we know a lot more inside information than the general public. And I can only speak for myself that I'm very confident in Celsius and what Celsius is doing and the direction that they're moving and everything they're working on. So I sleep very well at night. But also we have a little bit more insight than the average person would. So so I would just say to you, from where I sit, the future is very bright.
That is why I asked the question. Thank you very much for providing that very full response. I very much appreciate it.
Yep, thanks for throwing up. That's a good question, Jason. Next up is Dimitri.
Hey, thank you. Just before I start, a quick one. I keep hearing the people asking questions, but I don't hear the response. Is it something on my end, or I'm kind of new to the whole Twitter Spaces thing? Don't know if I can fix that.
Are you able to hear me just fine?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine, but no one else.
Sometimes people have connection issues. They'll be coming up on stage, they fall off a lot. It might end up being on your end, so just make sure you're in a good spot. We can hear you just fine.
No worries, I'll do my best. So just a quick one. This requires a bit of context. I work in a crypto curious senator's office here in Australia, and you may or may not know, but recently Australia did a select committee on this space and came up with some recommendations for a bit of light touch regulation concerning things like marketing regimes and trying to token map and whatnot. And I'm actually doing some research in this space, and I was wondering if you had any feedback on the sorts of specific light touch regulatory clarity you would like to see from different countries that would entice you to perhaps set up an office in Australia or expand, or just in general assist the space and also the people who invest in it.
Yeah, I know pre-pandemic we were really excited about launching an office in Australia, but I think those plans changed in the medium term. But it is a pretty substantial market of ours, and I imagine that we will put efforts and energy there at some time, but I haven't heard anything in that direction for the immediate future.
I think he may have fallen off stage. To his point earlier, he may have lost connection.
Yep.
But yeah, I remember when the Australian location was going to be a big deal. I remember all that.
Yeah, Tal was actually right about to go down there, and then everything blew up. So I think just bad timing, and it'll happen at a later date.
Sorry to cut you off. For whatever reason, I can only hear you when I'm a listener, so I'm just going to jump back into listening to hear you both, just so you know.
Sure, go ahead, go down, and then we'll re-answer the question.
Yeah, so just saying that we were planning to open an office in Australia, and then the pandemic hit and plans changed. It's still a pretty significant market for us, and I imagine that we will go down there eventually. It's great also for expanding the time coverage, different part of the world, different time zone. So it's just a matter of time, but I haven't heard anything for the near future.
All right, cool. I think we're going to move on to Midnight now. Thank you for your question, Dimitri. Midnight, you there? All right, Charlie, you're up next.
Hey, hey, I just wanted to make a comment about the question about the platinum members getting swaps. I'm pretty sure that I fell below platinum when I was gained access to the swaps feature. So I think that just based on my circumstance, I can confirm that there are people that are not platinum that have the swaps feature because I have it. And I also wanted to say something really good about just Celsius. I know that I recommended Celsius to my father-in-law, and he was interested in signing up, but he talked to a friend who told him about Voyager as a competitor, and he decided to go with Voyager, and he had some issues with his KYC verification, and he tried to submit a ticket to Voyager. They took 10 days to get back to him, and he didn't get the problem resolved. So I was just kind of chuckling when he was telling me that story, because I was like, yeah, that would not happen had you signed up with Celsius. So I love Celsius's customer support and everything, and yeah, Celsius is great.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I would add that we had a lot of customer care problems a year ago. End of 2020 and early 2021, we did experience delays like that were weeks sometimes, and it was tough. So that's why this customer care center and the other changes that have been made are so huge to improving the experience that you have with us, and that is such a major part. Like, if you have a problem or you're in this space new and you have a question, it's so refreshing to be able to call someone and talk to an individual. So it's been a tough road, but we've come to a place now that's really fantastic, and it's just going to continue to get better.
Also, Charlie, I'll speak to your swap comment as well. I mentioned earlier today in the Celsius Club that that we are seeing the numbers, we're seeing the patterns of the people who are receiving swaps, and as a result of that, we're getting more comfortable with rolling it out to larger and larger and larger numbers of people. So it wouldn't surprise me if they did roll it out to people who are not platinum. I don't know for sure if that's what they're doing or not. But what I do know is we're happy with the numbers that we're getting. We're happy with the patterns that people are using swaps for. So as a result of that, we're expanding at a faster clip and a faster pace to larger amounts of people. So again, it wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know for sure the exact specifics of whether it's platinum or not. But what I do know is it's being expanded to larger and larger numbers of people each time we do another rollout. So so congratulations on getting the swap.
Charlie, did that conclude your questions and comments up here on stage?
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
No problem. Next up is Thomas.
Hi. Yeah, my name's Thomas. I Zach, Scott. I am Josh. I'm one of the people that helps out on the Telegram channel. Generally, just try to look at questions that people are asking there, and give them the best answers that I know to my experience. One problem that I see kind of repeatedly there is the cost of Ethereum transfers. Getting, they want to get funds into Celsius, but they're turned off by the fact that Ethereum can have $25 or $50 network fees at certain times of the day or the week. I don't know much about crypto blockchains themselves, but are there technical limitations? Are there permission reasons why Celsius hasn't started to integrate, like say Polygon or Binance Smart Chain as lower cost alternatives for getting funds into a Celsius wallet?
Yeah, we've started that process, but again, when you say the word integration, it's a short word for a lot of work, and all of these integrations have to go through a myriad of security checks. They have to work with the rest of our system, and I can only begin to tell you how much work goes into a change like that. So yes, we are working on layer 2 solutions, and then the other solution will be a fiat on-ramp that people will be able to transfer fiat directly to Celsius and convert it into any asset that they want or that we support. So I think we're working at that problem overall of really high fees on Ethereum in those two different ways.
Similar question on that same topic. Another issue kind of that I more or less I'm kind of asking these questions on behalf of other people that I see in Telegram. But one of the other problems that I just hate to see, but I have gotten adept at recognizing, is when they unfortunately use, say, Polygon or Binance Smart Chain to try to send in funds. They don't recognize that they had to, or it's a newbie mistake, a rookie mistake. In the future, if those were integrated in, or whatever the smart, whatever the myriad of things that are needed to integrate that in, would those funds that people have misplaced, shall we say, for the time being, would those somehow get integrated back in to their wallets? Would those appear in their wallets? Maybe.
I think it would be easier to recover. Each situation is different. Like when someone sends a XLM transfer without the ID, or same thing with XRP, or where they send on layer 2 instead of Ethereum address. I don't know exactly what takes place on chain, but sometimes it's recoverable and sometimes it's not. But when we do integrate to a layer 2 like Polygon, I think those recoveries will be easier to do, and the mistake will happen a lot less often because it'll be on the second layer already.
Okay. I guess the last question I kind of have, this is just kind of on my side. How does, I understand what Celsius X is. It's, merging CeFi, DeFi together, providing the ability to, I guess, move funds cross-chain. Will Celsius X provide possibly a lower cost way to get funds in? Maybe they can somehow use Celsius X to wrap or transfer tokens from one chain over to the other and then deposit those in, or I
Yes,
guess would
definitely.
those still
Yeah,
require
definitely.
an ERC-20?
No, that's being built out in Celsius X is really a suite of DeFi products that are built in the best interest of the Celsius community. So there's a lot of near magic tech that's being implemented, and it does include cross-chain, no fee transfers. I wouldn't be the best person to talk about this, but I know we're definitely building these types of efficiencies into our own DeFi platform instead of dealing with the inefficiencies of the current systems.
Okay. Well, thank you. Those are the questions I had for right now.
Sure. Thanks for coming up, Thomas. And if you have more questions, just tap on the request and come back up again. Guys, looks like I got a notification that Alex will be joining us here shortly. So make sure that you guys are sharing out the room. Let everyone know that we're live here. And if you'd like to join us up on stage, just tap on the mic in the bottom left. Sarix, you're up next. SAR-IX.
Oh, sorry. Mic was off. How's it going?
No worries. Go for it.
Hey, it's the first time using this. So I have sort of like a selfish question that I guess the best thing to do here is to maybe like parlay it into us where everyone can be informed and maybe learn something. My question is about mana. I've put my mana into Celsius a long time ago, back when the APR was, I believe, 3.5. Now it's down to 0.5. I was wondering, like, is it going to go up? Can you speak to maybe educating people on, like, you were talking about, you guys have some, if anyone can speak to some inside information about, like, what causes the APR to go up and down, and maybe using mana as an example of why back when, like, it was like, I think five months ago, it was 3.5. Now it's at 0.5. Is it going to go up, being that the metaverse is kind of ramping up the industry? And yeah, just speaking of, like, maybe like the journey of what causes the APR to go up and down in this with mana as an example.
Yeah, I don't know any details on mana specifically. Is it a staking asset?
I don't think so.
Okay. So then it would probably be just like most other coins on the wallet, where it's based on supply and demand. And if there's a lot of speculation happening in mana, then rates will tend to go up. And it's not something that happens, like definitely a lot more is taking place when Facebook turned into Meta. There's a lot more interest in the space. Mm-hmm. So I would guess that would be benefiting the rate, or the amount of people that want to borrow, and could increase the rate. But I don't know for sure on how that's performing, or maybe the partners that we were working with before are less interested. It's hard to say the exact scenario for that asset.
Okay.
As a general rule, the bigger it becomes and the bigger that market gets, the more liquidity, the more opportunities there are for yield, which would increase the rate and stabilize it at scale.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thanks for coming up, Sarix. Russell, you're up next.
Hey guys, nice to talk to you again. Thanks again for everything. My question is basically about 2 weeks ago, Zach, I don't know if you remember, because you talked to hundreds of people probably, but we talked about me having my Series 65 and becoming a accredited investor.
Yeah. Did you pass?
Well, I already had my 65, so that's good.
Okay. Yep.
I reached out to the OTC deck, or OTC customer service, and they told me that accreditation at Celsius.network had to help me. I sent them an email and have not heard back. I didn't even get like the automatic response that you get when you submit like a ticket or something. Do you know how many people are in that department and what the typical response time is for them?
I don't think it's accreditation, right? It's accredited investor or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think it's accredited at Celsius.network.
Yes, that's the one that I used. I used it right from customer service.
Yeah, but I've heard that response times on that are not appropriate. So I don't know if for your accreditation, and if you already have a Series 65, you shouldn't need Celsius to do that. You should be able to go to verifyinvestor.com and they should verify you as accredited.
So that was going to be my next question. On that website, I need to pay to make myself accredited so they can verify it, and then once I get that certificate or whatever it is, that's what I send to Celsius for them to see it and verify it?
Correct.
Okay, so I do need to pay that and get accredited there first, and then reach out to Celsius again.
Yeah, I thought OTC paid for that. Maybe they stopped doing that. But if they sent you in that direction, then it's probably OTC is not doing that. But I would double check. Ask them. Say, hey, are you guys paying? Usually we have like a discount link that you get a deal on that accreditation from Verify Investor. But if not, then yeah, you would have to get accredited one way or another, and then we can do business. Celsius,
so just message OTC and tell them Zach said.
I wouldn't say Zach said. I would just ask them. I don't know the operation that they're doing right now, so I would ask them, hey, do you guys have a link to Verify Investor? And then if they don't, then you would have to go get it on your own.
Okay, I was wondering if you had any pull within the company.
No, not in the OTC department.
Okay, thanks for your help.
Come on, Zach, where's your pull at, man?
Need more pull.
You got to eat your Wheaties, Zach. Come on.
Russell, thanks for coming up and dropping your questions. Celsius versus Voyager, you're up next.
Hello, thanks for having me on. So I took a loan against my Matic holdings when it was around $1, and now it's gone up. So I was wondering, is there a way to pay back the loan using the collateral I initially put in, like liquidating some of it?
Not really. There's really two ways to go about it. You could wait till the collateral doubles, and then you can do a reverse margin call. So if you did $1 at $2, you could ask for a reverse margin call, and then they will give you basically half of your collateral back that you could loan against again, or just earn yield or whatever. The second part would be paying that loan back with other assets, and then closing the loan, and then reopening it at the new market value. I would contact loans at Celsius.network to see if there's any other options, but that's the stuff that I know off the top of my head.
All right, thanks. That helps.
Yep, thanks for coming up and joining us. Next up, Lucia, how you doing?
Hey, I'm great. Greetings from Mexico. So yes, I'm hashtag living the Celsius dream over here. I've been on the road for 3 months. And, speaking of swaps, I don't mean to whine, but I'm a platinum member and I still don't have the ability to do that. And I was wondering if it's because I'm not in the US or I've got my VPN on sometimes, or what might be going on.
No, they were working off of a list. Starting, and it had several filters on it. One was the sign up sheet, and then the other was jurisdiction, other features of your account that we felt very secure with and safe with. And basically what's happening now is those parameters are being loosened and more people are giving access. So,
cool.
At the end of the day, we should be able to bring this to almost every user. There's definitely going to be some jurisdictions that we can't offer swaps in, just like we can't offer loans or self-pay, whatever, in certain places.
Right.
But that's how it'll operate. And for Mexico, and then I don't know about your home state,
California.
Those would be California. So yeah, so at the end of the day, you should get access. It might be because you're in Mexico that it's seeing you not in California,
right,
and
right.
It could be holding that.
Yeah.
So could be a couple things going on, but believe me, we're getting this out to as many people as we can without any problems, right? This kind of goes back to Celsius's risk aversion,
right?
Where we would much rather ship a product that works well to a smaller number of people that grows than ship it out to everybody and have 100,000 people complain, right, of something not working.
Absolutely. Yeah. What about for Mexican citizens? If they are, upstanding members of Celsius, can they, can you use stablecoins? Can you do all these same stuff that people in the U.S. can do? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I think they have full access to all of the features in the app in Mexico.
Okay, I haven't wanted to talk about Celsius to any Mexicans yet, because I didn't want to, lead them on in case, there was some issues.
Oh, no.
There. Oh, good.
Yeah, I think they've got full services.
Okay, cool. Great. Okay, great. Thanks. Yep. Perfect.
Yep. Thanks for coming up, Lucia.
Yeah. See you guys.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Jason, you're up next.
Hey guys, I'm down here in Miami. I got a quick question for all three. It's an opinion type question. With the acquisition of GK8, what do you feel is the best part of that acquisition? There's many parts that are great, but I want to hear what you three think.
I'm gonna say onboarding more assets much more quickly.
Yep, same.
I would add to that by adding cold storage. They are going to help us to have the ability to eventually be able to have assets that maybe are not earning yield and just have them in cold storage. So that's another capability that they have. So I'm excited to that, as well as the other items that were already mentioned.
Cool. Thank you. I'm on the same page.
Thanks for coming up, Jason. Next up is M. Riddle.
All right. Thank you. I was just following up on the accredited investor thing. So if I have the certificate, do I need to send the email to accredited at celsius.network? How does it work?
What is it you're trying to accomplish?
To get that status so I can participate with the cell token?
Okay. For if you're trying to buy cell token via OTC, you're going to want to contact OTC at celsius.network, and then you will end up sending them your accreditation, and then with that they can transact with you.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I think we are going to have a system for basically to tag yourself as accredited for other features in the app like US Earn and Sell. But that system isn't set up yet. And when it does, then you'll be able to kind of tag yourself doing that same thing. But for OTC, you'll just reach out to them and then let them know, hey, here's my certificate. That will verify you as accredited, and then you can transact.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And just for everyone's information, you can get that certificate for free at North Capital. They provide it as a service. I got it from there. If you are, have the qualification to get it.
Thanks for sharing that with us. Emerald, did you have any further questions or comments?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for coming up. Crypto therapist or crypto investor, sorry.
Hi. I got a question. I'm not
Your before you go any further, your audio is a little off.
Is it better now?
Yeah, that's a little bit better. Yep.
Okay. My question is regarding to the fundraise. I think you guys went from 400 million to 700 million or something like that. And I just wanted to know what the rationale, because you've always said that you don't need any money, and all of a sudden you get a lot more. So is it just investors was clamoring for it? Or
I'm having a hard time understanding what he's saying.
He said the funding round went from 400 million to 750 million, and we always say we don't need the money. So what's the rationale behind receiving more money?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing is growth. So if we are a profitable company, we're cash flow positive, meaning we are operating in a sustainable way. But if we want to take a monumental leap in growth, we sell a piece of the company, we raise that capital, and then we can deploy that investment in a way that's going to let us grow 10, 20, 50x. That would just take much longer than if we did it naturally, right? Because we have all this capital today instead of having to earn it over time. So from my understanding, that's where the majority of this investment round is going into growing the business itself as far as yield generation, and then also growing our services internally so we can scale to 10 million, 50 million, 100 million users.
Thank you.
And I'll just add to what Zach just said. You don't raise money when you need money. You raise money when it's available, because down the line, you don't know when you need money. So if you can raise money right now, you raise it, whether you need it or not.
Yeah, man, it's not about necessarily needing it, but it's a competition out here, right? We need to grow. We need to get going. We need to get on the road. So thanks for coming up, crypto investor. Appreciate the question. Taylor, I know you've been coming up and back and forth on stage, so I'll jump to you real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I had to jump off and do something real quick, and I didn't want to be rude. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to see. I've been trying to look into Celsius X recently, and all I understand that it's kind of like a DeFi arm or something. Can you go into more depth? I went to like the page on Celsius.com, and the big thing for me is that, and I've kind of like brought this up on other AMAs, is that like there are a lot of other assets that people have in MetaMask or Coinbase Wallet or self-custody that they want to deploy in Celsius, or even we'd like to deploy it in Celsius, obviously, but I mean, we could go out on Uniswap or SushiSwap or create pairs, but we don't know how to do that. And then maybe we think it's like unsafe. So what are your plans? I guess like, what is Celsius X trying to accomplish, and does that have anything to do with supporting like creating pairs or supporting tokens that you don't have in the app right now?
Yeah, so think of Celsius. We've always operated one leg in CeFi, one leg in DeFi. And now instead of just operating one leg in DeFi, we're building our own DeFi platform. Okay, that's going to work in the best interest of the company and the community, and leverage that in a lot of different ways. And it's going to be a large basket of different technologies. And that's really the way to think about it. And of course, it's going to include cross-chain pairs. It's going to be liquidity mining. It's going to be a lot of different services that all kind of fall under this overarching program that's going to bring the company way more into DeFi than it is today.
Okay, cool. Can you, so like, what about this idea? Can you have like a treasury? Like, I know Uniswap doesn't. Like, I have to put up half in Ethereum, half in whatever ERC20 token. Can you have a treasury of Ethereum and just charge extra for it, or is that risky because it's so volatile?
Yeah, I think Alex actually put an article out this week saying that a lot of people, or the majority of people, have lost money because of impermanent loss.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you're putting those two assets up and the price changes. So, I don't know exactly what's going into that. I don't know what's possible. I'm not a technical expert in that area.
Yeah.
But I know that the overall plan for Celsius X is to create a DeFi platform and a host of technologies on it to cater to Celsius and its community, versus just utilizing other platforms that's been developed, right? Why use Aave or Compound when we have enough liquidity and enough users to create our own platform that operates in our best interest and doesn't charge you a fee? It doesn't cause impermanent loss, doesn't cause all these kind of negative effects, right? It doesn't cause hundreds of dollars or even $1,000 to interact with the contract. Those are the kinds of, that's the future that we're looking forward to.
Awesome. Yeah, it'd be cool if I could just like create a pair without putting up the Ethereum, but that's kind of messy. Also, so like I reached out to Scott about this a little bit. I'm kind of gearing towards, so I don't have the net worth requirements or income requirements to be accredited, but I am just researching, like I think it's like might be really important to be accredited going into 2022.
Yeah, I would look at that Series 65. I'm hearing it's not all too difficult, and can be done with a couple weeks of studying. So I would take a look at that option. If you can't make it on the earning side or the network side, which I totally understand, I think on the education side, anybody can really do it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was thinking about like starting a Twitter space for other Celsians if they wanted to join, and we could all study. Because I looked into it, and it's like I think it's like 125 or so to test, but there's like over 100 questions, so it didn't seem like it was
That
like a
would
walk in the park. But maybe I don't know.
I would totally support that. I would personally love to help people study for that test so that they can
Yep.
become accredited investors. Like that's an initiative I would love to get behind.
Awesome, cool. I was hoping that there might be like some support within Celsius, but yeah, I'd love to do that to get some people accredited. I think that would be like an awesome goal.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
start
Taylor.
accredited like class.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say too that we discussed earlier today was Taylor, was that that's not only good for you and the people you know, but it's good for all Celsians, and it's good for Celsius as a whole as well. Because if we have a lot more people that are accredited, and then once they're able to earn in sell on other tokens, then that's more that Celsius can go out to the market and buy. That's more for the burn. It just helps everyone all the way around. So definitely support that. That's a great idea, and keep us up to date on that. And if you decide to do it, let me know.
Cool, I will. Thank you guys.
Yep. Thanks for coming in, Taylor. And I see Alex has joined us. So 99% of you guys here have joined us usually every week to go over the products and services that Celsius has both currently and upcoming. But 1% of you come in to speculate about other things. And Alex, welcome in.
Hey everybody, joining you. I'm here with Bethany, joining from the lovely city of Miami. We're here at the NFT Basel, which is the local event. We had a big hoopla today at the FTX arena here with all things NFT and all things crypto. So I had a lot of fun meeting a lot of Celsius community members. Also, we at least 25% of the attendees already were Celsians. So it was great to see, at least in my session. So maybe they just came to see me, but looks like we're here in full force. And tomorrow night we have our Miami event, right? Miami local meetup at where are we having it? It's in Wynwood. It's in Wynwood, and if you register, they can watch our Twitter. There is an invite link. If you register there, we will be sending you the actual address, and everybody will be admitted. If you got the invite, you will be admitted. So don't worry about being oversubscribed or anything like that. Just show up, and we'll take care of it. All right. So. Like every week, again, we're doing this AMA. I think I'm the only CEO in crypto, maybe the only CEO of any public company that does these things, right? It's crazy enough to go up live audience twice a week and answer everybody's questions. And as always, we can talk about some things, we can't talk about other things. For example, the legal matter that is pending right now in Israel, we just can't talk about it. It's not that we don't want to update you, frankly. There's nothing else I can update you beyond what we published on Twitter. And when we have information, as I promised before, we will update the community. Right now, all we know is what was published. I know there were several articles written. Some of them are very inaccurate. I don't know where these reporters get their information, but I can tell you for sure that some of it is inaccurate completely. So I would be very careful who you believe and who you read. And let's go and ask some questions. Answer some questions.
Sure. I actually have one, a personal question before we get cranking into the group here, Alex. You mentioned you mentioned a 4-man Top Gun team for cell token deployment. Can you share a little bit about that with us? Like who are these 4 people gonna be?
Yeah, so these are so we're gonna have basically 2. Looks like it's going to be 5 or 6, actually, not 4, because we already have, I think, 3 people in marketing, and we're going to have 2 or 3 people who are more on the kind of like back office operations and things like that, who can basically manage all the systems and infrastructure and other things that may be needed, if it's listings or if it's deployment, all that stuff. So, so half of the team is going to focus on outbound, enlarging the cell community, finding more people to make sure they understand, again, that we are the only token that has no inflation, not low inflation, no inflation, NO, zero inflation. Bitcoin has inflation, Ethereum has inflation, Solana has 10% inflation, Polygon 18% inflation, Cardano, right? Something like 17% inflation. Celsius, zero inflation. Zero, right? So when you're all excited that you're getting all those Cardano tokens, guess what? They come from Treasury and they are released into circulation. When you get sell tokens, there are not new tokens being released into circulation. These are things we buy off the market. No other company buys these things off the market. All right. So you have to understand these things, because when you compare apples and oranges and you're saying, well, other people also give out tokens, you're comparing inflation to no inflation. The second item is burning, right? When very few companies burn tokens, Binance burns BNB, Ethereum burns ETH, right? Celsius burns Cell. Very few do that. And again, we buy these off the market and then we burn them. Most other people don't buy them off the market. They're just, so basically we're creating more and more demand. If we have more users, we create more demand. Everything's going to be fine. So we obviously want to add more listings. We want to add more utility. We want to add more marketing. All those things are, we already have the budgets allocated, both for next year and the year after. We have partnerships with different chains that we're launching. So all that stuff is going to be announced and published. But now we have dedicated people who are working on it versus kind of like a bunch of people working on this as a side project, or as a part of their time. So now we can hold people accountable and have dedicated results.
Yeah, I feel like right now we really are kind of a low point in the trust and the there's a high amount of concern of the community worried about the future of Cell Token, and I think this is creating a lot of animosity in the community. And is there any level of reassurance we can give, or show a shining light on what we're doing? I know there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes, but like Plan C had a great post earlier of, we don't have to give off what's behind the scenes, but we got to give some sort of taste or roadmap or plan of what we're doing to make sure that token holders know there is a commitment to Cell Token, because that's a huge doubt in a lot of people's minds right now, Alex.
Well, I see some smart Celsius community members, the ones who are earning in Cell, who understand that they're earning twice as many Cell tokens as they were when the 8th Cell token was at $8. Right? They're basically getting twice as many Cell for the same thing, right? For the same Bitcoin, for the same Ethereum, for the same everything else. So if you believe in the viability of the company, then you're getting a 50% discount. If you don't believe in it, then you probably don't want these cells anyway, right? So if you're not sure about it, well, how about some of the world's best investors coughing up $750 million? What did they buy? They bought into half of all the Cell tokens out there. What is the biggest asset that they bought into? The biggest asset that the Celsius have today is our treasury, which is mostly Cell token. So they're happy to buy into it at the current price, right? So that's what they got. They got a pro rata allocation of Cell token, right? That's part of their ownership. They're part owners in the company, which also owns half of the treasury. So again, I'm not giving you an endorsement or investment advice or whatever. I'm just telling you the facts, right? These are the facts that we published before. It's not new news. It's not something you didn't know before. But if you're skeptical or you're not sure or you whatever, you can look at what other people are doing, and then you have to make your own decision if it's something you think is good or something that you don't think is good. If investors didn't want anything to do with Cell Token, they wouldn't be investing in this company, right? So
Sure.
obviously, yeah.
Two more big concerns just from the community side. Can we please get something in writing on a token roadmap, at least a vision of what we'd like to do? I think that would give people a lot of hope and optimism at what Celsius is building. And then two, what was it? Oh, I forgot. Okay, let's just go with number one.
Well, look, we announced we're going to be enabling U.S. accredited to earn and sell. I think we have more than $10 billion of our assets with U.S. accredited. That's our estimate, more or less. So, that's happening imminently, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I know it's taken some time, but it's happening imminently. So, you just have to think to yourself, okay, what's going to happen when Celsius does this? No one's going to care. No one's going to want to earn and sell in the United States, or some people are going to want to, take advantage of this opportunity. So you can sit on the sidelines and watch and see what happens. Again, we're going to publish all the numbers. We're going to tell you how many people are eligible, how many people registered and qualified as accredited, how many more sell. Every week we're going to tell you how many more sell we're buying. You can do the math and figure out, okay, how many of these are new US, and so on, right? And then you can make a decision if it's a good thing or a bad thing, right? So there's
I have a
no,
question
it's
along
not
that
like,
line.
Yeah. One more thing I was going to add. I remember the disconnect that's happened between the growth of the company and the growth of the token. I know last year we had a huge run, and then the company has had a huge run this year. But I think, again, people are concerned that those are not tied together. And I just wanted your thoughts on that, the growth of the company versus the growth of the token.
well, last year the token was up 4,000%, and we grew 30x. 30x is 3,000%. So there is a correlation. It's not like there's no correlation, right? I mean, anyone can do the math. Both of those numbers, Masari ran the numbers on the growth of the Cell token, ranked us number one among all assets. Again, this is not a report we created, right? This is an independent research firm that compared all the assets in crypto, right? And you guys know we had less than $1 billion. We reached as high as I think 28 or something like that, right? Or 28.6 or whatever the number was. So there is a relationship between those numbers. Now, again, we have added more U.S. than non-U.S., and I think maybe that has a lot to do with who's earning and sell, who's not earning and sell. But we worked super hard to get it approved and get it issued and get the lawyers and everybody else comfortable that allowing U.S. accredited to earn and sell is both good and legal, and we're about to launch it. So everybody waited for this for like 2 years now. If you're nervous now, if you're giving up now, then why did you wait 2 years? What did you wait for? You understand what I'm saying? So what bad could happen from us opening this? You think people who are not earning and sell are gonna not earn and sell? That's what we are already.
Thank you for answering my question, Alex. And Otis, I know you've been waiting for a while. We'll shift over to you.
Yeah, Alex, I just have a personal question. I did an OTC transaction about a year ago. You said in order to qualify to be an accredited investor, it has to be about 6 months ago. My question is, does a guy like me have to redo an OTC transaction to qualify to earn and sell?
So I don't know the exact rules. You can look it up online. But for some people, it depends on your accreditation. If you have accreditation based on your income, it's one thing. If you have accreditation based on your assets, it's a different thing. So it really depends for each person, what type of accreditation they went through, what type of material they provided. But if it's been more than a year, for sure you're going to need to do it again. So again,
regardless of your income or what you have on the Celsius platform.
Yeah, the SEC doesn't care how rich you were a year ago. All they care about is, are you in the status right now that if you take this decision, and you invest in this asset, you're in good standing. You're not going to risk your financial existence because you're so excited about this or that company, right? So to protect you from that, they're basically saying, look, if you're making enough monthly income or annual income, good. Or if you have enough liquid assets, good, right? Then then you're on your own, right? Make your own decision. You're a big boy, wear big boy pants, and make that decision. You know, so again, it's not the rules we set. We just follow the rules we are given. We're gonna give you through the web app, right? There's gonna be an accreditation process in which we ask you to submit different documents. We're gonna try to make it easy. I heard before somebody asked about Series 65. We're gonna try to make it easy for you to do that test. So we'll find 2 or 3 resources that we think are credible that will help you pass the test. And this way, even if you don't have 250,000 a year for 2 years, or if you have over $1 million or 2 in assets and liquid assets, you may be qualified as accredited investor, right? Again, if you
I'll ask the question another way.
yeah, if you
If you
pass
have
that,
over, go ahead.
if you pass that test, the Series 65, the IRS is saying, look, you know the rules now. Even if you're not rich, we're going to allow you to kind of conduct your own business and rely on your own knowledge, right? Because we've asked you, we've taught you all everything you need to know, and now you are deemed accredited.
That's so cool. We should gamify that as much as possible and like help our users
I
get
wouldn't
educated, become accredited.
I wouldn't use the word gamify. We want to be fully compliant and follow the rules.
Sure.
I understand what you're saying, but again, we don't set the rules about Series 65. We just follow them.
Simple hypothetical. If you have $50 million of stable coins on your platform, and you know that this person has $50 million worth of stable coins, do they have to go through the accreditation process? Or does Celsius know that you are accredited? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, you still have to go through it because we don't know if it's your assets or you're holding them for somebody else or all kind of stuff like that. So we need a statement. We need a written statement or confirmation that you're saying, hey, yep, I have more than 2 million or whatever the case may be.
Otis, did that conclude your questions?
Yes, it did, Josh. Thank you very much.
No problem. Tecmo, you're up next.
Hey, what's going on, Alex? Thanks as always for being a part of this. Your transparency is absolutely massive, and one of the reasons I became an ambassador. So I really appreciate it. You kind of already covered the roadmap, so I'm gonna ignore that. For Zach already covered that. Great. My one quick question was with the acquisition of the security GK8, the security firm. Does that mean you guys are transitioning from Fireblocks, or are they going to be working in parallel?
Yeah, so we're definitely not transitioning from Fireblocks. I mean, the idea is to have 2 cannons instead of just one. And Fireblocks is a great firm. We're partners with them on many different projects, so we're not in any way seeing them as something we don't want to work with, right? I mean, it's a great firm, right? And we help them. We're by far their largest customer. So we have, I think, a good partnership. And Michael Shaulov, the CEO, is a good friend. So we're not in any way. We didn't buy GK8 because we don't like Fireblocks. We bought GK8 because we need many other things. For example, for Celsius X and other projects that we're building. And for a lot of that stuff that we're building, Fireblocks just can't do it fast enough for us, right? They have a lot of other clients. And if we're asking for bells and whistles, or we're asking for some small project, like I'll give you a perfect example, right? Many of you are complaining every week, no matter what I tweet about, the first response is, hey, where are my Songbird tokens? When am I going to get my tokens? Why did you guys steal my tokens? And I keep responding again and again and again. We have to be able to support them in the wallet first, and only then we can give them to you. What are we going to do? Send them to you over XRP? They don't. It doesn't work that way. So we have to support the token, and then we can deposit them or put them into your wallet inside Celsius. So Fireblocks can't even give us a date. That's how busy they are of when they're going to be adding these tokens. So here we can go to GK8, say, hey, this is a priority. A lot of our customers are complaining. Let's solve this problem for them. When can you have it? And the answer is usually whatever, 4 weeks. Right now, we still have to integrate with them, so it's not 4 weeks from today. It's going to be 4 weeks from when we integrate. But at least we can have a date, and you guys can have a date, and we definitely are not in any way sitting and not trying to give you your tokens. Okay, that's not Celsius. And anyone who thinks it's Celsius shouldn't be a customer of Celsius, because then you don't know anything about the company. Moving on.
Thank you, Alex. That was awesome. I really appreciate it. That's an excellent answer. And I've looked at the cybersecurity of both Fireblocks and GK, and it's tremendous. And I think it's a huge acquisition. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys saw, Coinbase just bought a company that is a fraction of what GK8 is and paid much more than we did. So it shows you that it looks like we did a pretty good deal.
Tecmo, thanks for coming up and dropping your question. Crypto YOLO, you're up next.
Hi, thanks for calling on me, Josh and Alex. Wow, I get to talk to the man. Thank you so much for starting this, and thanks for boosting yields on stablecoins to 10%. So I was wondering, do you do anything different in terms of how you create yield with assets that are used as collateral for loan versus ones that are just earning interest?
Yeah, hi, and thanks for joining. We don't even know which assets are what, right? We basically treat all the BTC pool as one pool. So we don't divide it into these coins got here from this port and this coin got here from another part. So again, we're focused on earning as much yield as possible. It doesn't matter where the coins came from or how we got them or whatever. And we just look at how much we earn. We look at how much we have to pay, and we have to decide: do we keep the rates the same? Do we make them higher or lower or whatever? So, and again, I know a lot of people are waiting for rates to go up on everything, but like Jeff mentioned before, or Zach mentioned before, most people, right here, I was talking an hour ago. I was talking to a really sophisticated guy right here on this fancy dinner that we're having here with all these crypto people, and he was arguing with me about how well he's doing in DeFi all by himself, and because he said the words, "I used to be a Celsius customer, but now I'm doing it all by myself." And I'm like, "Really? And you think you're ahead?" He's like, "I'm definitely ahead." I'm like, "Good." So when you count, how do you count your returns? He's like, "Oh, I'm just counting how many percentages I'm earning." I'm like, "But are you counting coins on coins?" He's like, "No, I'm just looking at, I'm making 18% here and I'm making 25% there." And I'm like, "Yep, but each time you farm or each time you hop or each time you swap, you understand you're paying fees and you're losing coins." And he's like, "What are you talking about? I'm not losing any coins." I'm like, "Okay, well, let's go look at your transactions." And I just started showing him how he's paying gas fees and how he's paying spreads, and how he's paying exchange fees and AMM fees and all these other things that most people just don't understand. Or how he had an impermanent loss here and how he had a withdrawal fee over there. And I said to him, "Okay, well, here is an article that did all this math on behalf of thousands of people that says that more than half of you guys who think you made money actually lost money. Forget about make less than what Celsius pays. Lost money, coin on coin. Lost money, right? Because most people are too bored to actually do coin on coin calculations. So, the issue is all you care about is how many coins do you have. I mean, we're gonna change our marketing to be focused on with Celsius. You earn more coins, right? Because if you swap with us with no fees, you earn more coins. Doesn't matter what you swapped into, you end up with more coins. You took a loan, that means you didn't sell coins, right? You are yielding, it means you're guaranteed to have more coins, right? There's no way you're losing if you're yielding with Celsius, right? But there is definitely a way of losing if you're putting it on an AMM, whatever, Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDC, or whatever pair you think, and then there is an impermanent loss and you actually didn't do the math and you ended up with less coins. Maybe you have more USDC, but you have less ETH, right? So for those of you, and again, when we do a transaction, we put $100 million in one transaction. So I pay $200 gas fee on 100 million. You pay $200 gas fee on $5,000 transaction. Do the math. How much did you just lose in gas fees? In percentages, what does that represent? How many of these transactions, and you're already losing money compared to Celsius? So a few days into the month, you're already losing money if you're farming all by yourself. So again, I'm not fighting over your assets. I'm not saying all these things because I'm trying to get you to put coins here. I'm just trying to make you smart and make you understand that you need to do the math, coins on coins. Okay? And your spreadsheet should
So give
only
us,
count coins on coins.
yeah, we really need another rail other than ETH to get stable coins into Celsius. I mean, for the small guy, ETH gas feels
Coming
cheap.
December 15th, right?
Okay.
So, three amigos. What are the three amigos? Right? Swaps, right? Every week we're adding thousands or tens of thousands of new swap members, right? If you got in recently, maybe raise your hand or say 100%, just so other people can see that you're swapping on Celsius. Anyone on this call swapping already? Well, here we go. I see a few people raising their hands, right? So again, you're gonna start seeing it. You will see. You'll get notification that you are swapping. That's the first amigo. Second amigo is on-ramps. Exactly what you're talking about. You can go to your account, connect to Celsius, and push dollars, and they appear as USDC on the other side. No gas fee, no nothing. Okay, bypassing all of this need to go to Coinbase or anywhere else. December 15th launch. Okay.
For US investors or
for US, yeah, this is US USDC
awesome.
from your bank.
Awesome.
I'm saying that every week. I'm saying it every week. People just don't listen. That's the second amigo, right? Third amigo is earn and sell in the United States for accredited investors. Three amigos, all in 1 month. You're getting all three of them in the month of December. All right, so that's a huge, three huge things happening at once. Okay.
All right, I'm looking for my Christmas present.
Here we go. Now you're talking.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to leave in a minute. So one more question, and I have to go back. I have like 200 guests here waiting, and Bethany still wants me to network tonight and get a few more deals done. So
Sure, no problem. We got you, Alex. Crypto YOLO, thanks for coming up. And HP, you're up next.
Oh, I am? It's up. It's me? What's up, guys? What's up,
Yes,
Jack Scott? Alex, I'm going to pick your brain on something that has nothing to do with Celsius. I'm going to let you go with this. And then the other question I can ask Zach and Scott. How do you feel about the new DeFi 2? Because I know you guys are coming with Celsius X and stuff. How do you feel about the DAOs? Like, that's like I see the new movement with the treasuries. Like we have Olympus DAO. I just wanted to pick your brain on that, whatever opinion you could give on it.
yeah, so look, DAOs are great ideas. I think it's like the DAO that was trying to buy the U.S. Constitution, right? I love that idea. That's amazing, right? Enabling all of us to own a piece of it. So obviously they failed, but I'm saying that is a good plan. Now, some of these DAOs are bad plans, and you have to just use your logic and be smart about what you're supporting. Make sure you don't get into any scams. You don't support bad projects or projects that do bad things, right? Because you have to remember, even if something is a DAO, it doesn't mean that the developers don't have access to it, right? Unless you can read all the code and you can find all the back doors and figure out who has like master keys or can access and change the DAO, and you don't really know what you're investing in. So we think that basically two principles kind of tell you. One is light is the best disinfectant, right? That's a quote from a Supreme Judge here in the United States that basically said that. So basically, as long as everything is transparent and everybody's giving you all the details, that is always a better idea than something where the founder is anonymous. And I'm not talking about Satoshi. I'm talking about some DAO where you don't know who even started it, right? Or they don't give you all the details. They basically tell you, well, this part of the code is not open source, or We can't really tell you about this or that or who are the holders or whatever. As long as all that information is secret, they're hiding something. So you have to be super careful about those things, right? So one is light is the best disinfectant, right? And the second one is the DAO really there to do good, right? Is the DAO intended to create help all of us, or is the DAO really is just taking advantage of certain situation or helping certain people and not really helping you, right? And time cures the second one, meaning the longer time has passed and there were no hacks, there was no exploits, there was no rug pulls, there's no, it's doing what it's supposed to do. Just like Celsius is doing what it's supposed to do. 4 years without any change, right? No surprises, no changes, no whatever. Doesn't matter what other people are doing. Then that's what makes all the difference. Okay, so I invite all of you to be patient. And I know you guys get excited and you fund this and that, but you got to be patient and you got to fund things that are helping you and helping the community, and not just things that are not here for the right reasons. Okay.
Got you. No, yeah, definitely. Listen, my portfolio always stays diverse, Celsius. I just like to pick your brain because I know you're in a world where you speak to a lot of different people. And I guess part of that question was, do you think DAOs have a future in 2023, or you think this is like something that is like a phase, or do you see like a place for them?
No, they definitely have a future, and the good ones will survive. They might survive for 100 years, and the bad ones are gonna disappear very quickly. So my point is, you don't have to jump into them just because they were issued a week ago. Just wait. It's not a first come get the best benefits. Basically, almost everybody gets the same benefit over time. So just be patient. So again, I don't have time to dig into all of them. As you know, we're very selective at what we support in, and we rather be safe than sorry, and we have a lot of weight on our shoulders, securing or making sure that your net worth stay what it is. So we have to make very careful decisions, very slow decisions, and you see us adding things to the wallet. That is a good indication, right? Because we've done the work. You see us not adding stuff to the wallet, that is just as a good indication that we don't like something, right? Especially with GK8 coming on board, where we will be able to double or triple how many coins we're adding. And that then like we just added WBTC, we've added a few other coins. That tells you that we like these things, right? We think they have legs. We think they're good assets. And somebody else before, like, how can we use them? You can use WBTC on almost every pool right now, right? You can actually borrow the asset. You can buy it somewhere else and put it on Celsius to earn yield, or you can take it to DeFi and do whatever you want to do. If you want to do pairs yourself or whatever. So our job is to enable you to do many things, not just to do everything for you, right? So I think we're doing a great job at it. But if there's a way if you guys think we can do it better, let us know and we'll become better. I gotta run. Thanks everybody. Thanks for joining. We'll see you at the AMA on Friday, and we're here to support you. We're here to help you with your financial freedom, financial education. And this community is the best community in the world. I can tell you at this conference, it came out loud and clear who has the best community in crypto. All right, no one even got close. And I want to thank all the Celsians who came to the event and who are here or coming to our event tomorrow. And we'll see you tomorrow at the meetup. Take care, guys.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Alex.
Go get them deals.
Yep.
HP, did you say you had questions for me, Zach, and Scott?
Yeah, just a simple one. I know you guys repeat this, but since I have you guys, so I just got a margin call on my Cardano, and I just wanted to know my timeline on it. That's all. I know whatever information you guys can help me. Like, how long do I have to take care of that? Like, do I get like a week or something, or? Or
No, you want to take care of that as soon as possible, and definitely reach out to loans at Celsius.network right away to start communication. So communicate, and then you want to take care of that margin call as quickly as you can.
all right, cool. Thank you guys. Appreciate it, man.
Yep. Thanks for coming up, HP. Mr. Crayola, you're up next.
Hey, appreciate your time tonight. It's more just like a fun question, and then I got more of a technical question. So the first one is, I know that y'all been kind of like traveling the world for different conferences and stuff. So I wanted to ask, like, what's been y'all's favorite place that y'all have gone, and how's Art Basel so far?
I don't think anyone else is on here. I think Alex is just down there, and a few others, but I don't think anyone else on the call is at that event.
Gotcha. Is there anywhere else that y'all have traveled that y'all have enjoyed as a team, or?
Yeah, we just went to Vegas 2 weeks ago, and
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Really, really awesome meeting everybody. Got to shake a lot of hands, meet a lot of Celsians, and that was awesome.
That's cool, man. That's cool as that. Okay. Couple other questions. So I know he was talking about how, like, if y'all are adding new. Sorry, Scott, I was about to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to chime in and say Vegas and New York were my favorites. The Vegas crowd, the Vegas Celsius event with all the Celsians was quite fun. I'll just say that. And then New York was also a good time as well. So, but I'd have to say Vegas kind of squeaked it out as the top one for me anyway so far.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad y'all are having fun and getting the job done as well. So some of the more technicals, Alex was talking about how, like, if y'all add tokens, that's great. If you take them, if you don't add them, like, you're not really interested. I'm thinking more of the ones that are kind of like in the middle. So, prime example, I saw that H bar was kind of waiting. It was kind of on deck to be pulled in, and it's no longer as an available like future token. What are some things that go into the decision to finally pull the trigger to make it an asset on the Celsius platform?
Yeah, there's a handful of things. Briefly, it's market demand. There's enough people want to borrow and lend that asset. Second thing would be enough size that we could transfer enough into the wallet that we can make enough money to cover those costs and do everything. And then third is like a reasonable rate of yield and technological support. So it's really a mix of those few things that allow us to bring on assets.
Gotcha. Appreciate that answer. And then really the last one, and then I'll hop off. And I thank y'all so much for your time tonight. So I watched the video again back like early last year of Sergey Nazarov and Alex talking. And I know that y'all utilize Chainlink for price feeds primarily. Is there any new updates as far as Chainlink goes on the Celsius platform that y'all are utilizing, or are y'all having any further discussions with the Chainlink team?
I'm not aware of anything additional from last time we talked about it.
All right. Josh, Zach, Scott, thanks so much for your time. Really enjoyed it, and hope to talk to y'all in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming up. You're always welcome on stage. Joey, you're up next. Thank you for waiting patiently.
What's going on, guys? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you loud and clear.
How's it going? A lot of my questions were answered. You know, I'm really excited about, you guys bringing, when I don't know who said it, maybe partnering a Cell token possibly with other chains. That would make it really easy to hold, without having to deal with Ethereum gas. But I did have a question that, it's been kind of an ongoing thing, but to my knowledge, this is the first time the U.S. Senate has ever got involved. I could be wrong, but apparently, I believe it was 6 days ago, the U.S. Senate sent a letter requesting immediate information from Tether about their reserves, redemption process, issuance, activities due to several market integrity concerns, and they have, they haven't said anything yet, and they have 3 more days. I mean, they might have said something, we just don't know about it. And I know that Celsius took out a insanely large Tether loan not too long ago. It might have been like $10 billion. I might be wrong there. And my concern is, obviously, if Tether blows up, then the whole market is probably going to have a big. It would be insane how crazy
do you mind if
how far this would rip.
Do you mind if I ask how long you've been in crypto for?
2 years.
Okay, so this may be the first go around at it for you, but there's been a very long tradition of Tether FUD in the space, and not to say
I just don't know if
what's true or not true. I can't say it. We don't have any information on that situation, but there's been a lot of FUD over the years, and let's wait to see. There was a big legal look into Tether not that long ago by New York, and that turned out to be not a big deal. So let's see how this develops, and if anything actually comes of it.
Yeah, and Joey, I'll just add that our risk team is pretty on point, and any exposure to any individual asset or income stream is at a very low percentage.
Okay, cool. What did make me feel better about it is like, what you hear all the FUD, and then you see Celsius, which is like a name that I trust, pulls out, borrows a bunch of money from them. I'm like, well, I don't think they would have done that if they were worried. So that did make me feel better. But I saw it running around today, and I was just like, you know what? You guys, like I said, you guys answered a lot of my questions, and I was like, I could just throw this out there and see what you guys say. But I just wanted to say, I think you guys are doing really great things. I don't know if we'll ever see the day where the Cell token will be available to all U.S. residents, because I'm sure that would help a lot with the price of it and really get it to move up. But if it ever did, I mean, that'd be amazing. And you guys already know we want that. But yeah, I just want to say thanks for taking my question, and I will see you guys next week.
No problem. Thanks for joining us, Reagan.
It's not a bull market without some Tether FUD. You know what
I
I'm saying?
was just gonna say we get one of those a week. Reagan, I know you've been waiting super patiently, man. What's going on?
Hey, Josh. Hey, Zach, Scott. Tricky one. It was probably more one for Alex, but I'll put it on the table, and maybe you guys could check into it. But it was just more on the roadmap for the cell utility. It's obviously back in sort of end of October, Celsius, Alex were asking for ideas, from the community about more cell utility. Over 400 ideas were submitted. I know there was some, not phone calls, but Zoom calls and whatnot about discussing them. Alex came back and said, great ideas. We're going to publish a list of, in order early November, so sort of for mid-November, as to what was going to be, implemented. And then just sort of gauging Alex, then it sort of sounded like there wasn't too much need for more cell utility, or at least that's kind of how I took it. So I'm just wondering whether there's been a sort of shift in that, or whether I was misinterpreting what was being said. Like I said, you're not Alex, so you can't answer it, but a bit more clarity on what's happened with that community feedback, because my concern was, and I sort of shared it at that time, was, if you open the door for community feedback about something, get people energized and excited about it, and then not in a space or sort of change what you're going to do with that, that could be a bit negative as well. So that's just
Right. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. Like, Alex lives in the future, so everything happens a lot faster in his world than in the rest of the realities for all of us. So yeah, that feedback was taken. It was very valuable and is being worked on. I want there to be more out now, but we have to wait for this to get worked out. And again, it's a call for more patience, but there's definitely a large priority being put on this.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I mean, it's, if if the flywheel and the utility was always fine, then it would be great to just have heard that it was always fine. But if if you come out saying we dropped the ball on it a bit, or we need some ideas, we want to do this, and then it not happen, and then it go back to no, everything's fine, then
Right.
that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
it's
I don't.
it's
Yeah,
one
I
or
don't
the
think we've
other.
gone
Yeah.
back to. Yeah, I don't think we've gone back to everything's fine, but I think it's gone back into development, kind of in dedicated teams have been put around it and all this other back end work, but it hasn't been the forefront of conversation as it appeared it was going to be. So yeah, I totally agree with, and I understand, and I feel the sentiment, and I'm pushing for that as much as I can. But keep talking about it, keep bringing it up. The company takes a really strong look at what the community is discussing online and what the demands are, and that drives a lot of what we do.
Yeah, and Reagan, I'm in on that too. We're definitely on the case here. Things are being processed, like Zach said, but I believe Scott once said, these type of things have to go through a bunch of different teams. There's a technical team that has to make sure that these things are easy to do, and then there's compliance and stuff, and it's a process. And I know that everything moves very quickly, like lightning here in the crypto world, but really got to be patient, man. It is in process.
Oh, that's cool. That's good.
Yeah, Alex also spoke. We have dedicated people on it now, so it's even more time spent on it. Before it was teams of people. Now we have dedicated people, so everything's being turned up on the inside in regards to Cell Token. So it's definitely a hot priority, and we want it just as bad as anyone else. So it is being worked on.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
No problem. Thanks for joining us, Reagan. Kindness, what's going on?
Hey, gentlemen, thank you for your time this evening. Got a couple different questions. The first question I have is regarding the accredited users in the US. Back when this was expected to go through in late August, I had reached out to the accreditation team at Celsius multiple different times through their email address, and I never received a response. So my question being, with this launching in December, what changes have been made to make it easier for those of us that want to get accredited to do so and get a quick response?
I think a system to tag yourself as accredited is still in production right now. So on that front, I don't think there's been any changes, but I think it's going to go through now versus when August we weren't able to make it happen. And I think we're finally going to get that back and up and running. But as far as the process, there's going to be a way to tag yourself in the system by sending certain information to an email or whatever. And we'll announce that when that becomes live. But it's not yet, as far as I know.
Okay. I had eventually was able to reach somebody through the OTC desk, and they had me do the paperwork that is done through a third party, and I got that finished. But when I sent that in, again, I didn't hear anything back. Is that going to be the same paperwork? Will I just be able to use that verification that I've already done, or am I going to have to start from scratch? Or maybe you don't know the answer to that.
Well, depending on the time frame, like if it's still valid, then there'd be no reason why we couldn't do it. But at least you're gonna have to see if it's still valid at that time.
Okay. The next question I have is pertaining to different chains. At the beginning of the year, another chain by the name of Pulse Chain is going to be launching, and that's going to be Ethereum fork that is actually going to carry over the entire system state. So all ERC20s are going to be copied over onto this.
Yeah.
Is two questions pertaining to that. Is Celsius aware of that, and do they plan to engage at all? And second of all, with that chain copying over all ERC20s to PRC20s, Celsius is going to receive an influx of those copies. Is there any plans to allow those copies to be given to those of us that hold assets on Celsius?
Yeah, so complicated question.
Yes.
Like we learned a lot with Songbird, and the technical challenges that come with distributing a airdrop of any kind are massive. And so we've kind of taken the position of we're not going to support any airdrops unless otherwise stated. And so for Pulse, this is like a copy of every token there is. And we will not be distributing those at this time, and we're not going to be moving forward with those copies. As far as I know, I just think it's like, you know, it's great what they're doing, and it's a fantastic project. And if you want to capture those coins, then feel free to take those coins out for whatever time needed and move forward as appropriate. But it's just impossible for Celsius to do it in an efficient way at that scale.
Yeah, I can imagine, but I figured I'd ask instead of assume. It was mentioned earlier that there is some consideration, or maybe I misheard this. Please, if I'm wrong, correct me. There is some consideration for Celsius to operate on other chains. Is Pulse Chain one of those considerations?
No, not this time, because it's not even launched. So we have no idea how it's going to work, if it's going to work. We're going to have to go through a ton of security processes and audits, and you know, it's got to launch and go live and operate for a while before we can even consider bringing our community or our assets there.
Okay, perfect. I appreciate you addressing that for me. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks for coming up and dropping your questions, Kindness. Ken Kilo, we're going to wrap with you tonight. But before we do that, just a reminder to everybody here, we run these rooms for you almost every single day and to keep an open dialogue with you. So make sure you're following myself, Zach, and Scott. Also South Texan and Celsius Bro, as we work very hard to keep these rooms going for you guys. King Kilo, shoot us your question, man. What's going on?
Hey guys, and speaking of that, thank you for all that you do. I know it's a lot of work and a lot of logistics, and it's really great that you guys do this and even bring a CEO of a company, you know, to talk to us, the small fish. I mean, it's impressive. Two things I want to bring up. One, the cold storage. When I heard about that, I almost fell out of my chair. I'm on several exchanges, and I'm probably not the only person like that. So I think Celsius is going to get a lot of things coming over once that's implemented, and I think it's fantastic. And another thing, I just want to throw an idea out there. It might even be AMA worthy. I don't know. I know one person earlier in the conversation was talking about them getting a really low yield, I think, on Mana, like 0.5% or something like that. Now, this isn't financial advice, but one thing you may want to consider, and it may help Celsius as a whole, if somebody thinks it's a good strategy for themselves as well, is to do a 25% loan or even a 50% loan at 1% or 5% and just throw it in USDC and get that higher yield while still having that coin basically arbitrage in a way, and it's going to increase the USDC on Celsius. They're getting a really low loan and still keeping the coin. Just an idea I thought I'd throw out there for that person that was bringing that up earlier.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different strategies out there, and you got to see what works best for you.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thanks for coming up, Ken Kilo, and thanks to all you guys. You guys truly are the best community in crypto. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yep. Thank you.